When you get into a new anime, there's always a choice that you have to make. A choice that will determine the fate of your life, something that will change the very meaning of your existence, and one of the most important decisions you have to make time after time. Sub or dub? For many, subs are bar none the most entertaining and definitive way to watch anime. But why is this? Well, I know why. It's because subs are more accurate to the source material, and hearing anime in English might be pretty cringy to some people. And these are valid reasons for people to watch the sub. But having this mindset is really damaging to the anime community as a whole, because it leads to a lot of people missing out on the wide variety of talent that English voice actors bring to the table. I think what it boils down to is that a lot of people are just more used to subs, and the Japanese voices coming out of these Japanese anime. And honestly, I can't blame them. For a while, I only watched anime and sub as well. I thought that Japanese voices and words just naturally sounded cooler than their English counterpart. It didn't help that a lot of my childhood was shaped by really big cartoons like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh!, and we all know what 4Kids did to them. Because of all this, I naturally thought that the dubs were, quote, lamer and not as dark or gripping as the sub variant. This prejudice against the dub went on for a long time until I was finally enlightened by a beautiful testosterone-filled show named Gurren Lagann. I was originally exposed to this through my older brother, and the show really changed my outlook on the whole language gap subject. I was so engrossed by the performance put on by Yuri Lowenthal that I eventually started trying out dubs again. During this time, I was getting into Xenoblade Chronicles, which has perfect voice acting across the board, and the Persona series, which Yuri Lowenthal also played a huge part in. I later found out that he also played Ben Tennyson, which got me back into the show, allowing me to enjoy it even though it probably isn't for me. Yuri Lowenthal was one of the most influential voice actors in my life, and he kickstarted my interest in dubs. Afterwards, I came across a lot of shows with amazing dubs like My Hero Academia, Mob Psycho 100, Assassination Classroom, Full Metal Alchemist, and Death Note.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
At this point, I started to cherish the dubbed version of anime and would even go out of my way to watch the English version of certain shows. I never really felt this type of connection to subs, mainly because I can't really understand what the actors are saying. Well, more like I can't hear how they're saying it. Because of that, I personally find it harder to empathize with some of the characters. Obviously, this isn't the case with all anime. I can still enjoy subbed audio, as is the case with Re:Zero, and an even more obscure anime, Chivalry of the Failed Knight, is one that I actively prefer in Japanese. But most of the time, I find it kind of annoying having to pay attention to the bottom of the screen, while a lot of crazy shit is happening at the same time. It gets really bad when multiple characters are talking at the same time too, so I'm struggling to focus on what I should be watching. It's also a problem that I can't really distinguish Japanese voices from each other, so I can't tell who's talking unless the character's on screen. Unless the voices from each character are widely different, like with Deku and All Might, for example. All of these problems piled up make dubs more enjoyable for me to watch in general. In particular, I want to talk about one really well done and entertaining dub.
Its name is Fairy Tail.
Can I be honest? I love Fairy Tail. But why? Alright, it's important to note that I don't watch Fairy Tail for the drama or the action. I do think that the show can pull it off well, and I cried more times than I want to admit, but the most compelling part of the show for me is without a doubt the characters. Don't get me wrong, the characters individually aren't anything special, and they're not really nuanced or interesting, but when they mesh together, it's really something to watch. Seeing the entire guild just screw around with each other is so fun and really makes it feel like a family. That sense of camaraderie within the show is incredibly precious and enjoyable. It's even more amusing when you see the quirks and dynamics of the main group. Natsu is just so crazy and power-hungry that he's always enthusiastic about fighting and getting stronger. He's almost always craving a fight, and it's a total joy to watch him get shut down.
You're looking at the newest S-Class member. I am not gonna hold back, Gramps. Come on, fire it up!
Because of his personality, he usually butts heads with his more cool-headed friend, Gray, who at first comes off as smarter and more reasonable than our Fireball over here, but in reality, he's just as immature as Natsu.
I can't believe you'd be that much of an idiot! Do you even have a brain in your head?
Obviously not. Tell him, Gray. If he doesn't listen, you can beat it into him.
You need to stop and think before you ever try to pull another crazy stunt like that. I mean, why do you get to have all the fun? I would have loved to beat the snot out of those guys.
You totally missed the point!
Urza is the leader of the group, not because she's the most charismatic or anything, but because she scares the shit out of everyone. She's also the most mature out of everyone, but not by much. She usually intends to defuse the fighting between Natsu and Gray, but she always ends up joining in anyway because of her hot-headed temper.
Natsu, would you quit screwing around already?
He made me drop my strawberry cake.
Now listen up! If you were real men, you'd take this outside!
Wash it, you won't!
Lucy is the most normal out of the group, and she's essentially the audience surrogate, reacting to all of the crazy bullshit that happens around her. She gets so tired of her friends breaking into her house and breaking everything in general that she gets really aggressive because of it, and their interactions are always hilarious.
Sometimes it's nice just to relax at home.
Man, 70,000 Joule a month is dirt cheap for a place like this. You totally scored, Lucy.
Intruder alert! No stripping in my house, buddy!
Hey, give me a minute to explain, would ya?
I was naked when I got here.
Wendy is probably the blandest of the group. She fulfills the role that Urza would have, usually diffusing wacky scenarios. She's kind of the typical nice little sister character, but her pure innocence gives a nice contrast to the group, and sometimes she fuels the fire even more, purely on accident.
Huh? You're the real Gray? Why didn't you say so? What? You mean you just now noticed?
A big part of why I love this group dynamic so much is because of the dub. Every character is perfectly casted in my opinion. The standouts are Newton Pittman, who plays Gray Foolbuster. He does a great job of balancing the serious and the goofy side to his character without detracting from either of them, which is pretty hard to do. Colin Clickenbeard is literally Urza, and I would say more than that, but I feel like that statement alone is all you need to hear. Cherami Leigh is honestly reason enough to watch the English version of Fairy Tail because her performance is so endearing and her angry Lucy voice is just perfect.
Looks like he found us.
You can't sound cool when you look like a pervert! Why am I still in this stupid swimsuit?
David Wald does a good job as Gajeel, who also has a really fun dynamic with Natsu, viewing himself as higher than him, but in reality is just as dumb, if not dumber. Because of this, they usually serve as the butt of each other's jokes.
I didn't mean to break her! Someone give me the glue! Quick! Heavy! Go!
That's not gonna do anything, you idiot! We gotta use your fire and my iron to weld her back together!
And speaking of Natsu, I can't reasonably talk about Fairy Tail's dub without bringing up the man of the hour. Todd Haberkorn is perfect for Natsu's personality. He is so good at making Natsu look like the craziest motherfucker you have ever seen.
I'll have to put my faith in his raw talent. Now listen up! The festival is underway. Loxus is hiding somewhere in Magnolia. Find him and beat him!
All right! Just you wait, Laka!
I love how he delivers all of his lines, and this might not really be related, but he seems like a really nice and witty guy in general. I just love how talented he is. He shows a huge range of emotions without any problems. My favorite specific lines from him came from this little bit.
You the master of this sorry bunch? So it's one loss and you're out on the street, huh? Ha! Those are some hardcore rules, pal. Let's see if you play by them.
But even looking past the main characters, the side characters also have some pretty talented voice actors behind them. Elfman is played by Chris Sabat, the voice of All Might from My Hero Academia, and Alex Louise Armstrong from Fullmetal Alchemist. Romeo is played by Lindsay Sadel, the voice of Nagisa from Assassination Classroom, and Mira Jane is voiced by Monica Rial, who voices Kayano from Assassination Classroom, as well as, surprisingly, Suyu from My Hero Academia. Even the NPCs have pretty funny one-liners as well.
This is bad. That
guy's a wizard. Why didn't he tell us that before we mugged him?
This dub is just really entertaining. I love it so much. A huge part of why I made this video was so that I could talk about this phenomenal dub. It really gets everything right, but it also makes me feel. I laugh with the members of Fairy Tail, and I cry with the members of Fairy Tail because that's how powerful voice acting is. One of my favorite moments from Fairy Tail was Natsu's goodbye to Mystigan, which was already a very powerful scene, but amplified even more by Todd Haberkorn's impeccable performance. There's also this bit.
I'm gonna fly! Just watch me!
Behold, I am the wind.
This is the magic of dubs. Yes, some of them are garbage, and yes, sometimes it can be pretty cringy, but when they get it right, it always blows me out of the water and gives me an experience I will never regret.
Guess what I found? A little ragged, but who cares? Our guild is back in action! Fairy Tail still rules!